Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. In the last couple of weeks, the name Carney has been in the news a lot, associated with the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Carney. Following the start of the 2023 Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the United States sent the carrier battle group centered around Gerald R. Ford to the eastern Mediterranean. And detached from that group, USS Carney, which transitioned the Suez Canal into the Indian Ocean. While there, she has shot down as many as 18 drones and 3 missiles fired either at her, at civilian cargo ships, or into Israel. These missiles and drones are believed to have been launched by Houthi rebels supplied by Iran operating in Yemen. At 27 years old, Carney is one of the older destroyers in the U.S. fleet. She's one of the Flight 1 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. Interestingly, it is the older ships that tend to get more upgrades, as opposed to newer ships that have just come online and more or less have the latest and greatest. And so Carney has one of the best ballistic missile defense systems in the fleet. At this point, she's almost certainly the warship with the most drone kills to her name. Carney the ship is named after Admiral Robert Bostwich Carney, nicknamed Mick Carney when he was at the Naval Academy, who is an admiral associated with Battleship New Jersey. In fact, today we are in Admiral Carney's stateroom, one of only 3 spaces on the battleship that's been restored to look like it would have in World War II. While he was on the battleship, Admiral Carney was the Chief of Staff to Admiral Halsey, and here I'm standing with the Dorfman impressions of Admiral Halsey and Admiral Carney. Born in 1895 in California, Carney is a back-to-back World War champion. He graduated from the Naval Academy in 1916, and after serving a brief time on the Battleship New Hampshire, was sent to the destroyer Fanning, where he served as a weapons officer when she sank U-58 during World War I. Despite having an impressive record all his own, Admiral Carney is usually associated with the other admirals that he worked alongside. For example, his time as Chief of Staff under Admiral Halsey when Halsey commanded 3rd Fleet. But before Halsey, he spent 3 years as the Flag Secretary under Admiral de Steger, who was in charge of the battle force for the U.S. Navy from his flagship USS California. While his experience under Admiral de Steger was important for the rest of his career, Admiral Carney does not have fond memories of his 3 years working with the Admiral. Carney had some choice words to say about Admiral de Steger, which I'm not allowed to repeat on camera since this is a family channel. In fact, on one occasion, while particularly stressed out, Carney went into de Steger's stateroom. This would have been while he was like a lieutenant or lieutenant commander, and released a chain of expletives at the Admiral and then retreated wisely back to his own stateroom. He did not come out when the Marine orderly was sent to fetch him, so Admiral de Steger had to go and grab him himself, and his famous reply to Admiral Carney, then probably Lieutenant Carney, was, "Son, you seem overworked and stressed out," to which he took Carney on an all-night bender that apparently was impressive enough that it has literally made it into the history books. In fact, Admiral de Steger did not have any children and asked Carney, by that point an admiral in his own right, to take care of some of his funeral arrangements, including making sure that he was interred at Arlington National Cemetery so that his quote-unquote posterior faced the Pentagon. This experience gave Admiral Carney an expertise in both strategy and, more important, logistics. Remember the old statement that amateurs study strategy, but professionals study logistics. Carney would put both of those skills to good work in World War II. The major command that he held during the war was the Cleveland-class light cruiser USS Denver, which had just been commissioned. In fact, I believe he was the plank-owning skipper of the ship. He commanded the ship in the Solomons campaign, particularly during the Battle of Blackett Strait when 2 Japanese destroyers were sunk. Promoted from there, he remained in theater as Halsey's Chief of Staff and then Halsey asked him to accompany him when he took over 3rd Fleet. Carney was Chief of Staff of 3rd Fleet during an unprecedented period of expansion in the United States Navy, where he was Halsey's right-hand man in control of the logistics of one of the largest fleets the U.S. Navy has ever fielded. A fleet which remained forward deployed essentially for 2 years, with the Admiral switching off, but the fleet remaining at the front thanks to the fleet logistics chain, which was in part managed by Chief of Staff Carney. It was in his role as Chief of Staff, and with his experience corralling Admiral de Steger, that he slapped Halsey during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. After receiving repeated reports from Kinkaid and Nimitz about the Japanese attack on Samar, Halsey threw something of a temper tantrum, which Carney was able to bring under control. The two men then retreat down to these flag spaces on Battleship New Jersey for about an hour to discuss what they're going to do before Battleship New Jersey, including the two admirals, turns around to head back to the San Bernardino Strait. Carney accepted the surrender of the Japanese fleet base at Yokosuka, and then planned much of the logistics of 3rd Fleet entering Tokyo Bay for the surrender ceremony. Post-World War II, he stepped out of Admiral Halsey's shadows, but not yet out of the shadows of men more remembered by history. General Douglas MacArthur, still the supreme Allied commander in Europe, named Admiral Carney the commander of the Southeast Europe Command.
The evacuation of the civilians from the North Tashans has been completed, and the operations evacuating civilians from the South Tashans will continue on until it is completed.
In just 48 hours after being appointed, he was able to create the command out of nothing, which required him to travel from London, where he accepted command, to Italy, where the command was being formed. That sort of timeline is pretty unprecedented, even for a World War II U.S. military that had just mastered modern logistics. Eisenhower apparently thought well of the Admiral, because when he became president, he named Carney the Chief of Naval Operations. After 43 years, Carney retired with the rank of full 4-star Admiral. He would go on to work as the chairman of the board at Bath Iron Works, the same shipyard that would make his namesake ship, USS Carney DDG-64. He was one of the last remaining World War II admirals in 1990 when he passed away at the age of 95. It is unfortunate that Admiral Carney, to this day, has not fully stepped out of the shadows of the other admirals and generals that he served under, because he is unquestionably one of the masters of strategy and logistics. He helped craft the strategy for the Central Pacific campaign that won World War II in the Pacific, and was in charge of the logistics that got the U.S. fleet there, kept it on station throughout the rest of the war, and helped build the post-war world. The destroyer Carney and her actions are a fitting namesake for the Admiral. If you would like to see where Admiral Carney lived, come out for a tour of Battleship New Jersey. I'm fairly certain we're the only ship that has a space dedicated to him, and the only one that has restored his flag spaces to look the way it would have when he was on board, early in the ship's career. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about us and the channel. Thanks for watching.